wait.
Exactly. I'm copy pasting it into the new chat now. Let's see if
Okay, well, I'm live now.
I can see it on the back end. I'm going to go there now.
Can you just check that everything is nothing's reversed when you go there?
It looks like you're okay. It looks
Okay.
like you're okay. I'm going to come in from the back end now. All right, you can close it with me because you can hear it.
Okay, all right. So I'll wait like a few minutes and then I'll start. Okay, all right. Bye. Hi there to those of you that have joined us already. We've had a few technical difficulties, but we're fixing it right now. We're going to wait a little bit for everybody that was waiting on the other live stream to come to this live stream, and then we're going to start. I see some people are joining already, but I'm going to give it a few minutes so that nobody misses anything. So bear with us just for a little bit of time. To those of you that are here already, we're going to be doing IELTS writing in 10 days. I will go over this again. And I'll just go over the basics of what we're going to do today so that you know. And then when more people join, I'll go over it again. So IELTS, as you know, it's the English proficiency test that is used in a lot of places. And what we're doing today is an intense strategy. If you have only 10 days or 2 weeks until your test, what should you do? What should you do on day 1, day 3, day 5? And we're going to go through that. Obviously, if you wanted, you could even adapt this. You could take this for 7 days and kind of move things around a little bit. So we're going to go through what to do in the first 3 days, what to do in the next 3 days, what to do closer to the actual exam. We'll also go through a few tips and tricks for the different tasks that are in the IELTS. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're still waiting to those of you that are here, just to get everybody from the other stream onto this stream. So I think in a couple of minutes, everything should be fine. I see more people are joining all the time. I see lots of little icons of people. So I think that means people are joining. So I'm going to give it 2 more minutes and then we're going to start. Also, remember to stay tuned until the end of the lesson because I'm going to be giving a discount code that you can use on Cambly to get, I think it's up to 36% off on something. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but stay tuned for that discount code. To those of you that maybe don't know what Cambly is, I'll quickly explain that, and then we're going to start. Cambly is a great platform. It's based on the web, and there's also an app where you can speak to tutors just like me, and you can prepare for whatever you need to prepare for, whether it's IELTS, whether it's another English proficiency test, whether you just want to work on your grammar and your speaking and get more confidence. So you can find tutors 24 hours a day that are there for your needs. So it's a really great platform. All right, I think I'm going to start now, and everyone will join, and then we'll get into it. Okay, so like I said, and I'm just going to repeat myself one more time for people that have just joined. Today, we're doing the IELTS writing in 10 days. IELTS is the English proficiency test. It's got the 4 parts: writing, reading, listening, and speaking. And what we're doing today is a strategy for if you have only a little bit of time left. What should you do? How should you focus to make sure that you use every day effectively and that you're ready for that final day? I'm going to start just with a little bit of basics about the writing to remind you of what it is and what to do. Then we're going to go through each little group of days. And then I'm going to give you some tips and tricks about the different tasks. And it is interactive. I don't see anyone in the chat yet, but I hope that some people get from the other stream to this stream and start sending some messages. If you have any questions about IELTS writing, please send them, and then I will try to answer them as we go. All right, so let's start with a little bit of basics about IELTS writing. Obviously, what you must know first is whether you are writing academic or general. So academic is going to be a little bit more difficult because you'd have to take a look at a graph or a line chart or a pie chart or a diagram for task 1, and you have to examine it and explain it. But if you're going to be studying further, academic is what you need to do. General, obviously, is easier because there's only letter writing and then essay writing. Be sure before you take the test, before you start any of this, that you know what you're doing and that you know that you're doing the academic or the general. Like I've put here, and like we've said already, there's a task 1 and a task 2. For the academic, the task 1 is the diagram. You get a chart or a graph or a table or sometimes even a map, and you have to kind of explain what you see on it. So you have to do a little bit of thinking and report back about what you see in that diagram. So it's a different kind of writing to the general, where the task 1 for the general is a letter, usually. It could be a letter for employment. It could be a letter to say, ooh, I've got a complaint. It could be a letter to a friend to say, I want to come and stay with you. So it's much easier than the academic. Task 2 for both of them is the same. It's the essay, where it's more of an opinion. So you are given a question such as, let's make it very simple and very easy. Is saving money good or bad? And why or why not? And you have to explain your reasoning. So we'll talk a little bit about framework later for that, but that's more of an opinion-based writing. I've got here timing. Let's talk a little bit about timing, because timing is very important when writing. And we will look at timing further on when we look at the actual strategy. But bear in mind that for the task 1, you should take about 20 minutes, and task 2 should take about 40 minutes. Now, if you are good at task 2, if you're actually good at task 2, some people find it easier and they can do that in 30, then make sure that you split your time evenly. Task 1, you're not so strong with, focus more on that. But stick to your timing. Okay, so when you do the practice, and we'll talk about that later, you must stick to the timing. And that means that when you're doing the practice, when you're doing the exam, if your 30 minutes are up, that's it. You must go on to the next one so that you score as many points there as you can as well. So always be aware of timing. And this is a very important one that I want to stress, and I'm going to stress it later. There is no help when writing. This is when you're practicing. This is when you're in the exam. What is help? Help is Google Translate or another translator tool or looking up words, or you're not allowed to do any of that when you're practicing. Why? Because in the exam, you don't have that. Anything you write must come from you. And a lot of students, they use Google Translate when they're practicing and they think, oh, but I'm learning from it. But you're not. Preparation is a different thing than the writing. So if you want to learn phrases and words and adjectives, you do that beforehand. But during a practice, during the test, you're not allowed any of that. All right, so let's get on to what you're going to do on a day-by-day basis. Before I start, because now this is the crux of everything, I just want to make sure that people from the other stream to this stream. So I'm going to take 1 minute just to contact my moderator and find out that everything's working. So bear with us for a second. All right, I think we are live. I can't see the chat. Again, technical issues. So I'm going to ask my moderator just to send some questions that might come up through our separate chat interface. So give me a second here. All right, so now we can carry on. I've got that open there so I can see something. Let's get onto the actual strategy. Now, you've got 10 days. We're going to break this down into 2 to 3 days for each little step. Now, the first one is more of reading, okay? What you need to do is understand what they are looking for. What is the examiner looking for in the essays and in the explanations of the diagrams? And a lot of people, they never do this. They never look at model answers. They never look at other people's essays. And so they don't know what they're supposed to actually write. What is the style? What words can I use? What phrases can I use? And there are so many resources online where you can find this. So that is the first step. You are going to read as many essays and model answers as you can from online. And I would suggest, now I know that probably if you're doing IELTS in 10 days, you also have your reading, your speaking, and your listening. But what you should do is try to get at least 10 a day. You should be reading 10 task 1s and 10 task 2s every day, okay? And it's not just reading them. Now, this is our next point. When you're reading these essays and model answers, you have to read carefully. Now, what does that mean? That means you are looking for phrases, for words, for sentences that you can use. Sentences that get good grades, get good bands, you can use them. So that's the whole point of this, okay? As you are reading, you're reading carefully and you're making notes. For task 1, you make notes of, oh, this is a line graph. And this is the words that they used to describe an increase. These are the words they used to describe a decrease. Let me write that down. So this is more of an active reading, very active reading. You're reading carefully, you're understanding what is being said, and you're making notes of what you can use. So you have a list, basically, at the end of this of all the words, all the phrases you can use. For task 2, you are making note, as you're reading, of the framework. You're understanding what the introduction is, what one paragraph says, what the next paragraph says, and what the conclusion says. So as you're reading, you're understanding, that is how they went through that question. That is how they explained what they were saying. So you're reading very, very carefully. Other things you can take note of while you're reading are tenses. Okay, tenses, you can take a note as which tenses are used in the model answers. Is it present simple? Is it present continuous? Is it present perfect? Is it past simple? Is it future? You will take note of what they're using, and then you can apply that, again, when you actually do it yourself. And you can take note, and we'll talk about this later, the kinds of sentences they use that are getting good bands. We will talk later how to create a compound sentence, which sounds confusing, but it's actually quite simple. You're going to be reading how those compound sentences work. You're going to be reading how those compound sentences work through this whole 2 to 3 days. Now, if you can get through 10 task 1s and 10 task 2s every day, that means by the end of this 2 to 3 days, you've read up to 30 of each. You've really gathered a lot of information, a lot of notes. You really understand the framework now. You really know how to logically go through everything. You've got a lot of knowledge. Okay, and then we're going to go on to the next step. Now, I'm going to just see if there are any questions that have been sent yet. No questions yet. No questions yet. So let's go on to the next stage. So the next stage, now that you've gone through this, you understand everything, and what you should have, and I'm even going to draw a little picture here, is all your notes. You have all your notes of what was said, how it was used. Now you're going to rewrite a bunch of model answers. So you're not even doing it yourself yet. Now what you're doing is you actually rewriting certain parts of the model answer in the essay. Now you may say, what's the point of this? Why should I rewrite things? Remember that reading is more of a passive process. We've made it active, but reading is more passive. You have to now actively do things. And you're not ready yet, if we're doing this intense strategy, you're not ready yet to do it yourself. I want your brain to get this communication from your hand of writing those sentences, of writing an introduction, writing a paragraph 1, writing a paragraph 2, writing a conclusion. That is very active. And active learning is a different part of the brain. So you are actually now writing things down. You have to be very aware of what you're writing, very aware of spelling, very aware of tenses. And yes, you may be copying exactly what is written there, but you're taking note of why you are copying it. So let's go through this, what this process is going to be. You're going to take a model question. Oh, we've got a question. We've got a question here. Let me go here. So the question is, because their ideas are just coming to them and they write it down. When you are actually rewriting this, you will see, they talked about this, and then they talk about this. Ooh, I understand how those connect. So this process of rewriting is very important. I would say try, if you can, to get through 5 task 1s, 5 task 1s, 5 task 2s every day, rewriting them. And obviously for the task 1, rewrite a line graph, rewrite a pie chart, rewrite a diagram so that you can understand how they do it, how they go through it logically. And a very important thing that you're going to learn from this is how many words you have in your writing. Now, you know that in the task 1 and the task 2, there is a certain number of words you have to have. And if you are below that number of words, you're actually going to lose a band. Even if the writing is perfect, you could really lose a lot of that because you're just 10 words away. And a lot of people, they spend time counting the words in the exam. That's a waste of time. You know, that's time you could spend thinking and writing and checking, but you're counting the words. So instead of counting the words, during this time, you are rewriting, you will see how many lines it takes for your handwriting to reach that amount of words. So in the exam, you don't have to count the number of words, you count the number of lines. And you're going to train yourself to do that, to count the number of lines. That's really going to save you a lot of time if you are counting the words in the exam. And you're going to have done 5 a day, you're going to have done maybe 15. You're going to see that, okay, my 250 words is approximately 20 lines. And my 150 words is about 10 lines. So in the exam, when you're at like line 11, you know, okay, I'm covered. I'm done. I've got enough words. I don't have to count it. That's really going to make you feel confident and save you some time. I think there was another question that came through. Where did it go now? Here we go, another question. What happens if we use informal vocabulary? It's a very good question. So it depends on where you're using it. Now, remember, for academic IELTS, you can't use it. There's no informal vocabulary. What is considered to be informal vocabulary? Contractions. So don't use something like don't. Don't is a contraction. Use do not. It's more formal. Remember, this is academic writing, and you've got to think of it as an extra level of formality. Don't use slang. And for academic writing, even for something like the task 1, try not to use idioms. Remember, you are reporting on a graph. You're reporting on statistics, information. You're not going to use idioms for that. You might use some idioms for task 2, but be careful of them. Okay? Don't use too much. You're giving an opinion, but try to be a little bit more formal with everything. It's a good question. And And I see there's another question. What are the max words required in writing task 2? So don't think about max words. Max words means like there's an amount that they will stop you at. Think about the minimum number. So if I remember, it's 250 to 300. Okay, that's what you should aim for. And that's what you're going to learn, how many lines that is for your writing. If you're very writing and it just kind of comes out of you, write a little bit extra. But stick to your timing. So don't think about, ooh, I want to write a lot. If your timing's out, you've got to move on. All right, so we've looked at the first step. Let's go over it. Read lots of essays, lots of model answers. Take note of everything. Next step, you are going to rewrite all of that stuff. Rewrite it physically so that you can see how many lines it takes for you to reach the words, so that you can understand how everything flows, and so you can actually learn all of that stuff. And now we're going to go on to the next step. I see another question has come through. It's wrong to use a mix of American and British vocabularies. It's a good question. And yes, definitely. If you're going to be writing, you should choose one and stick with it. I would choose, even if it's a little bit more complicated, the British one. Okay, because it's got the extra letters. You don't know who's going to be marking it. So if you know the spelling, go with that spelling and stick with it. Always be consistent. Someone's asked, how about using phrasal verbs? Now, obviously, phrasal verbs you can use. Phrasal verbs is not informal language. Phrasal verbs are how we speak normally. Informal language, like an idiom, would be something like feeling under the weather. And let's say you're explaining a graph of how many people had a cold, or how many people had cancer. You're not going to say they were feeling under the weather. It's very informal. It's not academic writing. So idioms are very different from phrasal verbs. All right, good questions. We're going to carry on now to the next step. All right, so I'm just going to make some room for myself here. All right, so obviously the next step is for you to actually do some writing. Okay, so now it's 2 to 3 days, and you are just going to write a lot. And now, like we said, there is no help. Okay, by now, you've gone through that list that you made. You know all the words to use, all the phrases to use. You've written it yourself. You understand how everything connects. You're not allowed Google. You're not allowed any dictionaries. This is no help whatsoever, okay? And you have to train yourself to do certain things. So you need to train yourself to count lines. Why do I say you need to do it in the preparation? Because you'll forget in the exam. You might feel nervous. You forget to count the number of lines, and then you decide to count the words, or you forget completely. You train yourself to do everything. So you do it when you practice, you'll do it in the exam. And you train yourself about the timing. You stick to the time. Just because this is a practice doesn't mean you can spend more time on it, doesn't mean you can cheat. You have to stick to that timing. Your 30 minutes are up, your 20 minutes are up, that's it. You will get better if you stick to the timing and you train yourself to do that. Now, other things you're going to train yourself to do is to read the question. So often, people don't read the question properly. They may only read the little part that is in bold. They may read one line and think they know what they're doing. Read the whole question very carefully, and you train yourself to do it when you are writing the actual essays. So you read it very carefully, you understand what it is, and you go from there. And then, how many are you going to do? I would say, again, aim for 5 a day, task 1, and 5 a day, task 2, so that you're getting a lot of work. What you can do afterwards, because obviously you need a check. Okay, so what you can do afterwards is now compare. You've got your essay, and you will check this against the model answers that you know and see, okay, I remembered how to write this, and I remembered how that went, and I remembered how everything logically connected. So you can't just write it and say, okay, I'm done. You've got to learn from each essay and each time. So you write it, you check. Okay, I forgot how to write about an increase, and I forgot to write about a decrease. I'm going to try better the next time. So it's not after 5 that you check after each one, you learn, you do it again. And each time you're going to get better and better and better. By the time you finish this, you will have done 15 task 1s, 15 task 2s, and with getting better each time, you're going to be really good by the end of all of that. All right, let's see if there's any more questions. I don't see any more questions coming through so far. So let's now talk a little bit about tips and tricks for task 1 and task 2. We've already gone through now your whole preparation strategy. So let's go through now tips and tricks for each one of them. Again, I'm going to make a little bit of space for myself. Okay, so task 1, and I'm looking at the academic task 1 because the general task 1 is a letter, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we do task 2 because the similar writing. So task 1, okay, what are some of the tips and tricks? Don't describe everything. A lot of times what people do is they describe every single movement. If you've got a line graph here, okay, and does that, they are describing every single thing that happened, and it's too much. Remember, you've got a limited amount of words. You're giving a summary of this. So don't describe everything. Focus on the main significant events. Okay, so, and maybe you could explain in general what's happened there, that there were movements up and down during this period. Okay, so you only focus on the big main events, but don't leave out anything. So if you've got 2 lines here, drawing another one here, don't only focus on the one. Focus on the main events of both things, and focus on the general events in a general way. Okay? What else? If this was a diagram, sometimes you get a diagram or a map. The diagram is usually a process. How do we make paper? How do we make iron? Something like that. What do you do for that? You are telling a story. Sometimes that is easier because the diagram usually has lots of words, and you're basically just connecting the words in a story. Okay, so that can be a bit easier. Don't leave out any parts of the process or anything on the map because you need to have it all. And don't make assumptions. Now, this is for everything for task 1. What do I mean by don't make assumptions? Similar to like a conclusion. Don't give your reason for why you think things happened. So there was an increase here, and although it's not mentioned, you say, this is probably because of. If you don't know, if it's not mentioned anywhere, don't put it in. Don't assume that you need to analyze it to that level. You don't, okay? You're wasting words, and you're off topic, okay? So that is our tips and tricks for task 1. Let's look quickly at tips and tricks for task 2. Again, if there are questions, please send them through so that my moderator can send them through to me. Oh, I see another question here. I see another question. Let's just bring that up. We're about to get to this. Someone has asked, what's the right sequence of writing essays? And someone has said, please provide guidance to write discussing 2 ideas and providing an opinion essay, how to write that essay. Okay. And someone has asked, has said that it's hard to think of ideas for task 2. So we're getting onto task 2 now. Let's take a look. All right, so task 2. Let's talk a little bit about framework, firstly. So task 2 is an opinion essay. You have to say yes or no, and then maybe prove that opinion. Sometimes you have to give both sides. So you must read the question to know, am I giving a yes, no answer, or am I giving both sides? Okay, it's going to change the way you frame the framework of your essay. Now, the beginning of your essay is always going to be your intro. Okay, this should be max 1 to 2 lines. You don't have to make it big. It's basically re-saying the question. So you're saying the question again, and you're giving your opinion. You're making a choice. This is very important. You say yes or no, and you make the opinion known very clearly. Then you're going to have paragraph 1, which is going to be one idea and maybe 2 examples of that idea. So let's say, going back to our easy one, is it a good idea to save money? Yes or no? I would say yes, it's a good idea to save money. One of the reasons is planning for the future. That's my idea for paragraph 1. I'm planning for the future, and then I can give 2 examples of that plan. I can say, well, I want to buy a car, I want to buy a house, I want to pay for my children's education. That's it. That's my whole paragraph. Okay? If I now have to give a reason why it's not a good idea to plan for the future, I could do that in paragraph 2. And I can say, well, I want to have fun now. That could be my idea. It's one. And I could have 2 examples for that. I could say, well, I want to buy an expensive car and forget about my children's education. So I've given both sides. Now, if you have some extra stuff that you want to say, you can have a paragraph. It's okay if you're trying to prove a point and you've got a lot of ideas. And then finally, you're going to have the conclusion. A lot of people forget about the conclusion. But you must have it because that's logic. And the conclusion is really just the intro repeated. You're giving your opinion again. I think it's a good idea to save money. That's your conclusion again. It's 1 to 2 lines. That's it. You don't have to make a huge, big idea here. You're not trying to change the world. You're just trying to finish your essay. Okay, so now that is the framework for task 2. The other question was, it's hard to think of ideas for task 2. Now, ideas for task 2 are just drawing from your own personal experience. So here we were talking about money. That's easy. We all have money. We all want money. We've all used money. So you can draw all kinds of examples. What if it's something that you don't have a lot of experience with? Let's say it's a question about pollution. And maybe you don't know too much about pollution. I would say look at the smaller part of that in your life. Okay, so where do you see pollution in your life? Is it cars? Is it a factory? And you can think of any story that you've experienced, even if it's a small story. So that's where you get ideas from, personal experience. Okay, so, and even if you don't have personal experience, you can always make it up. Tell a story. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. It only matters that you fill up the space. And a good technique to get lots of ideas is to visualize. So if you're really struggling and you're staring at the blank page, imagine things in your head. Pollution. Well, I see a factory. I see global warming. I see lots of pictures. So visualize lots of things and just grab those visuals and put them on the page. All right, we were going to do that anyway, but it was a good question. Let's just see if I've covered everything I wanted to cover. Final thing I want to do that I said we were going to do is compound sentences. And this is a sentence that is complex. And how can you create a compound sentence? And why do we need it? Because it's going to get you a higher band. A compound sentence, it looks complex and therefore gets you a higher band, but it's not that complex. Think of a compound sentence just as 3 simple sentences or more or less, 3 simple sentences that are linked with conjunctions. So for example, I would say, let me write it on this side. Let's look at 3 simple sentences. I bought a new car. Simple sentence. I can have another simple sentence. I bought from my neighbor. Let's say from my neighbor. So I bought the car from my neighbor. I bought it from my neighbor. Simple sentence. And let's say I needed, well, let's say that my old car was totaled in a crash. Okay, it was crashed, it was broken. So it's 3 simple sentences. But now we can make it a complex sentence just by putting them together, and then it becomes elevated. It becomes higher. How do we do it? So I bought a new car I'm going to use from my neighbor, and I'm going to add some extra information here, who I have known a long time because my old car was broken. My handwriting has gone bad here, and I apologize for that. I'm going to read it out again. Okay, so I bought a new car from my neighbor, and I'm just putting another sentence in just to make it bigger, who I have known for a long time because my old car was broken. Now, that's really just 3 simple sentences put together, and now it becomes complex. So the 3 simple sentences are, I bought a new car from my neighbor. I have known my neighbor a long time. My old car was broken. Those are simple. Put them together, suddenly it's a big sentence. And that's all you have to think about in terms of complex sentences, which I know people worry about. So think about it as just simple sentences linked together. All right, we're going to take one more question. It's the final question here. Is it good to make a structure for writing an essay or better? This is actually a really good question. And I think this question is about, and I'm going to write it over here, planning. A lot of people don't plan when they write. They just write. And then they don't know where they're going. They don't know where they're going to end. They don't know how long they should write for. So what you must do when you're actually writing is read the question. And the first thing you do is take 1 or 2 minutes to plan. First paragraph is going to say this. Second paragraph is going to say this. Third is going to say that, and that's it. You've got a plan. So the question, I'm going to say it's very important to have structure when writing an essay and to plan when writing an essay so that you know where you're going, how it's going to end, and what's going to happen. All right. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you for joining us today. It's been a bit of a weird technical day. I told you I'm going to give you a discount code. So you can get, as I understand, up to 36% off if you use the discount code Go Live. And there I wrote it with good handwriting. So go, log in, get whatever discount you can, carry on working on Cambly. If you haven't started yet, please go start Cambly. Like I said, is a great platform. If you want to learn more with me, I think there will be a link in the description. And go do well on your IELTS. If you do well, send us a message. We'd love to know about it. And thank you for joining us today. We'll see you again.